The story of Audie Murphy begins on June 20, 1925, in the tiny rural community of Kingston, Texas, a patch of farmland tucked into Hunt County. He was the seventh of 12 children born to Emmett Barry Murphy and Josie Bell Killian, a poor sharecropping couple of Irish descent. Poverty wasn't just a circumstance of Audie's childhood, it was the backdrop to everything he knew. The Murphy family's life was hard and unforgiving. They lived in a run-down shack with no plumbing or electricity, scraping by on what little they could earn from farming cotton and corn. Young Audie often went barefoot, his clothes worn thin, his meals uncertain. He rarely ate enough, and his small frame, he barely reached 5 feet 5 inches as an adult, was shaped by years of malnutrition. By the age of 5, Audie was already working in the fields. He later recalled the long days under the hot Texas sun, dragging a cotton sack almost as big as himself. School was a luxury he couldn't afford. Though he had a curious mind, Audie dropped out in the 5th grade to earn money for his family. Life grew even harder when his father abandoned the family. Audie's mother, Josie, became the anchor of his life, a woman he deeply admired. But tragedy struck again in 1941, when Josie died of pneumonia. Audie was just 16, and her death devastated him. In his autobiography, To Hell and Back, he wrote, "She had the most understanding heart in the world. I owe her everything I have." With no parents to guide him and siblings to help feed, Audie grew up overnight. He turned to hunting to keep food on the table. With his rifle, he became an expert shot, learning patience, precision, and the kind of steady nerves that would one day save his life on the battlefield. Answering the call of war. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941, America entered World War II. Like so many young men of his generation, Audie felt the call to serve. But at just 16 years old, underweight and underage, he was turned away. Undeterred, he tried again when he turned 17. The Marines rejected him for being too small. The Navy said no as well. Even the paratroopers wouldn't take him. Only the U.S. Army, desperate for recruits, gave him a chance, and only after his sister falsified his birth certificate to make him appear 18. In June 1942, Audie officially enlisted in the Army. During basic training, he collapsed from exhaustion more than once, but he pushed himself to keep up. What he lacked in size, he made up for in stamina, focus, and sheer willpower. Fellow recruits noticed something about him, a quiet toughness, the kind you couldn't measure by height or weight. Baptism by fire in the Mediterranean. Audie was assigned as a rifleman to the 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division. His first combat came in July 1943, during the Allied invasion of Sicily. At just 18, he stepped onto a battlefield for the first time, and proved himself immediately. When his unit came under attack, Audie grabbed a machine gun and returned fire with deadly accuracy. He seemed fearless, moving under fire when others froze. His commanders took note. Over the next months, Audie fought in Sicily, Italy, and southern France. In Italy, he saw some of the bloodiest fighting of the war, in the rugged mountains near Anzio and the brutal advance toward Rome. He killed enemy soldiers with precision, but he also carried wounded comrades to safety, refusing to abandon anyone. He rose through the ranks quickly, from private to sergeant, not because he sought leadership, but because others trusted him with their lives. By 1944, Audie had become a battle-hardened veteran. He had faced machine gun fire, artillery barrages, and ambushes, and each time he survived, his reputation grew. His fellow soldiers began to whisper about his luck, but they also knew it was more than luck. It was skill, grit, and an unshakable determination to live another day. Heroism in France. The defining chapter of Audie Murphy's wartime service came during the campaign to liberate France in 1944 and early 1945. In August 1944, near Montélimar, Murphy and his company fought to block a German retreat. Despite being shot in the hip, he kept fighting until the enemy was driven off. For this, he earned the Distinguished Service Cross, America's second highest award for valor. But his most legendary moment came a few months later. The Battle of Holtzwihr, one man against an army. On January 26, 1945, in the snowy woods near Holtzwihr, France, Audie Murphy faced the greatest test of his life. His company of fewer than 40 men came under attack by a German force estimated at 250 soldiers supported by 6 tanks. Outnumbered, outgunned, and with artillery raining down, the situation seemed hopeless. Murphy ordered his men to retreat to cover while he stayed behind to direct artillery fire. Then came his fateful decision. Climbing onto the burning wreck of a tank destroyer, he manned its .50 caliber machine gun. Flames licked the vehicle beneath him, ammunition threatened to explode at any moment, and German troops advanced from all sides. Yet Murphy opened fire. For more than an hour, he single-handedly held off wave after wave of German infantry. Bullets tore through his clothing, shrapnel wounded his leg, but he refused to back down. By the time his ammunition ran out, he had killed or wounded as many as 50 enemy soldiers. When reinforcements arrived, the Germans were in retreat. Against impossible odds, Audie Murphy had turned the tide of battle and saved his company from destruction. For his actions, he received the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military award. He was just 19 years old. By war's end, Murphy had received every American combat award for valor, including the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, the Bronze Star, and 3 Purple Hearts, as well as French and Belgian decorations. He was officially recognized as America's most decorated combat soldier of World War II. The War Within. Audie returned home in 1945 to parades, interviews, and nationwide fame. He appeared on the cover of Life magazine and was hailed as a hero. But beneath the surface, the war had left deep scars. Murphy suffered from what we now call post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. He endured nightmares, insomnia, flashbacks, and bouts of anger. At times, he slept with a loaded pistol under his pillow, unable to escape the war even in peace. Instead of hiding his struggles, Audie later spoke out, urging better treatment for veterans suffering from battle fatigue. In doing so, he became one of the first public figures to bring attention to PTSD, decades before it was widely understood. Hollywood stardom. Murphy's fame led him to Hollywood, where actor James Cagney first encouraged him to try film. Over the next 2 decades, he appeared in more than 40 movies, most of them westerns and war dramas. His most famous role came in 1955, when he starred as himself in To Hell and Back, the film adaptation of his autobiography. The movie was a box office smash, becoming Universal Studios' highest-grossing film for 20 years. Audiences were captivated not only by the story, but by the quiet young man who had lived it. Despite his film career, Murphy never saw himself as a celebrity. He disliked the glitz of Hollywood and often preferred time on his ranch, away from cameras. Advocate for veterans. Audie Murphy used his fame for a higher purpose, to help fellow veterans. He spoke openly about the invisible wounds of war and criticized the government for failing to provide adequate care. He also worked with charities supporting soldiers, widows, and orphans, using his platform to remind America of its duty to those who served. His advocacy made him a voice for a generation of veterans who felt forgotten. A life cut short. Tragically, on May 28, 1971, Audie Murphy's life ended in a plane crash near Catawba, Virginia. He was just 45 years old. Murphy was buried at Arlington National Cemetery, where his grave quickly became one of the most visited. Even today, thousands come each year to pay respects to the boy from Texas who became a legend. Legacy. Audie Murphy never saw himself as a hero. He once said, "I never liked being called the most decorated soldier. There were so many guys who should have gotten medals and never did, guys who were killed." And perhaps that humility is why his legacy endures. His story is not just about medals or battlefield glory. It is about resilience in the face of hardship, courage when fear seemed overwhelming, and compassion for the men who fought beside him. From the cotton fields of Texas to the silver screens of Hollywood, from the snowy woods of France to his quiet advocacy for veterans, Audie Murphy lived a life defined by service and sacrifice. Nearly a century later, his name remains synonymous with heroism, not because he sought fame, but because, when history called, he answered. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel and see you soon.